So there's this map, not your average wall art. Picture this. India gets a brand new parliament building. We're talking $110 million, a major architectural flex inaugurated on May 28, 2023. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is there, cutting ribbons, making speeches. But amidst all the pomp and circumstance, something else catches people's eyes. It's not the fancy carpets or the high-tech sound system. No, it's a piece of art, a mural. And folks, this wasn't just any mural, this was mural. The one that got everyone, and I mean talking, tweeting, and in some cases fuming. Now this mural, it's got a name, or at least a concept attached to it by many, Akhand Bharat. For those not up on their South Asian political terminology, Akhand Bharat translates to undivided India or Greater India. It's an idea, a vision, that harks back to a time, real or imagined, of a vast Indian subcontinent unified under a single cultural or political umbrella. This concept has been around for decades, primarily championed by right-wing groups in India, envisioning a future where borders are, shall we say, a bit more fluid. So, when this artwork pops up in the new parliament, the heart of Indian democracy, people start asking questions. Was this an artistic representation of India's glorious past, a celebration of ancient civilizational reach, or was it a not-so-subtle political statement, a cartographic claim on territories that are now sovereign nations? So, what did this now infamous mural actually depict? Well, it wasn't just a map of modern-day India with some extra shading, it portrayed an ancient Indian civilization showcasing its supposed expanse. We're talking about areas that today include parts of present-day Afghanistan, the entirety of Pakistan, awkward, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and even Myanmar. The Indian government, specifically the Ministry of External Affairs, quickly stepped in to offer an official interpretation. Spokesperson Arindam Bagchi stated that the mural depicted the spread of the ancient Mauryan Empire and the governance principles of King Ashoka. Foreign Minister Subramanyam Jaishankar also weighed in, asserting that the issue had been clarified and was not political. It was, according to them, purely about celebrating a shared heritage, a historical period of enlightenment and responsible rule, not a claim on anyone's land. The Mauryan Empire, while indeed vast and influential around the 3rd century BCE, is one thing. The concept of Akhand Bharat, however, is a modern political aspiration for some. So, while the government pointed to ancient history, many observers couldn't help but see echoes of contemporary political ideologies. The historical context is crucial here. However, superimposing this ancient footprint onto a modern political building, especially one inaugurated with such nationalistic fervor, inevitably invited multiple interpretations. Inside India, the reactions to the mural were, let's just say, not monolithic. On one hand, you had the official government line, "It's Ashoka people, ancient history, cultural pride, nothing to see here, move along." But then, you had other prominent voices, particularly from within the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, singing a slightly different tune. Prahlad Joshi, India's Minister for Parliamentary Affairs at the time, and BJP lawmaker Manoj Kotak, were among those who explicitly described the mural as a map of Akhand Bharat. For them, and for many of their supporters, this wasn't just about Ashoka's ancient empire. It was a representation of that very right-wing vision of an ethnic Hindu nation, and perhaps a future where India merges with neighboring countries. The whole context of the parliament's inauguration added another layer of complexity, or, for critics, another piece of evidence. As mentioned, the ceremony, led by Prime Minister Modi, was steeped in Hindu religious symbolism. This wasn't the first time the Akhand Bharat idea had surfaced in connection with the current political dispensation. Now let's hop across the border because Pakistan was going to have thoughts on a map showing its entire territory as part of some ancient Indian empire. Pakistan's reaction was swift and sharp. The official response came from Pakistan's Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Mumtaz Zahra Balak. She didn't mince words, expressing grave concerns over the mural. Balak condemned the mural as a manifestation of what she termed a revisionist and expansionist mindset emanating from certain quarters in India. Why the strong reaction? Well, from Pakistan's perspective, the mural wasn't just about ancient history. It was perceived as an attempt to symbolically subjugate the ideology and culture of India's neighbors, and by extension, its own religious minorities. The fear was that such depictions could fuel a narrative that undermines Pakistan's sovereignty and legitimacy. The India-Pakistan relationship has been fraught with tension for over 75 years, marked by wars, skirmishes, and an enduring mistrust. The Akhand Bharat concept, which inherently negates Pakistan's existence as a separate nation, is particularly inflammatory. So, when a mural that appears to embody this concept is installed in India's new parliament, it's interpreted in Islamabad not as a cultural artifact, but as a political signal. Section 5. Bangladesh chimes in. Hey, what's this about? Next up, let's swing over to Bangladesh. Now, Bangladesh and India generally share a much warmer relationship than India and Pakistan. However, that doesn't mean Bangladesh was going to just shrug off a giant map in India's parliament that included its territory within a depiction of undivided India. The reaction from Dhaka was more measured than Islamabad's, but the concern was palpable, reflecting a need for clarity and reassurance. The Bangladeshi Foreign Ministry didn't immediately issue a fiery condemnation. Instead, they took a more diplomatic route. They sought an official explanation from New Delhi. Shahriar Alam, Bangladesh's junior minister for foreign affairs at the time, publicly acknowledged the situation. He noted that there was widespread anger and displeasure in Bangladesh over the mural. The core issue for Bangladesh, much like for other neighbors, was the implication of including their sovereign territory in a map that could be interpreted as representing a greater India. Bangladesh, born out of a struggle for self-determination, is understandably sensitive about any imagery or rhetoric that even hints at undermining its sovereignty. They wanted to know straight from the horse's mouth what India's official position was on this particular piece of parliamentary decor. Section 6. Nepal's nudge. Our mountains, our history, our map too. And then there's Nepal, another neighbor with deep historical, cultural, and religious ties to India, but also a fierce sense of independence and a history of its own border sensitivities. The Akhand Bharat mural didn't sit well in Kathmandu either, especially since it depicted significant Nepali territories, including Lumbini, the birthplace of Lord Buddha, and Kapilvastu, as part of this ancient Indian expanse. The criticism from Nepal was quite vocal, especially from opposition political figures. Former Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli, known for his nationalist stance, was quick to condemn the map. He urged the then Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal, also known as Prachanda, to take up the issue strongly with India and demand the mural's removal during his upcoming visit to New Delhi in June 2023. Prime Minister Prachanda did visit India shortly after the controversy erupted. Section 7. The Sound of Silence. Other neighbors and regional vibes. While Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal were quite vocal about their concerns regarding the Akhand Bharat mural, some other neighboring countries depicted in the artwork, such as Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, and Myanmar, had not issued any official statements, at least as of June 2023, when the controversy was at its peak. This silence could be interpreted in a few ways. Perhaps these nations didn't view the mural with the same level of immediate concern, or maybe they chose to address any potential issues through quieter diplomatic channels rather than public pronouncements. Each country has its own unique relationship dynamics with India. However, the absence of official statements doesn't necessarily mean an absence of concern or observation. Section 8. Big picture time. What this means for India's image and insides. Beyond the immediate diplomatic scuffles, the Akhand Bharat mural controversy sparked a deeper conversation about India's evolving national identity and its implications both domestically and internationally. Analysts and commentators quickly pointed out that calls for Akhand Bharat, even if symbolic, could have real-world consequences. There were concerns that such rhetoric, especially when seemingly endorsed by its placement in a prominent national institution, could embolden extremist groups within India who advocate for a more aggressive majoritarian nationalism, potentially threatening the fabric of India's secular democracy. Experts like historian Aisha Jalal and political analyst Fahd Humayun noted that such displays and the rhetoric surrounding them inevitably impact the national security calculus of neighboring states. When a country's leadership or influential political figures talk about undivided India, it reinforces perceptions among neighbors that India might harbor hegemonic or irredentist ambitions. This in turn can lead to increased military preparedness, a search for balancing alliances, and a general climate of mistrust, making regional peace and stability harder to achieve. Internally, the mural became another flashpoint in the ongoing debate about what kind of nation India aspires to be. Section 9. Why we're still talking about a map 2 years later. So, here we are in 2025, looking back at an incident from mid-2023. Why does a controversy over a mural, a piece of artwork, still resonate? Well, because it was never just about a map. It was a flashpoint that illuminated so much more simmering historical grievances, competing national narratives, the delicate dance of regional diplomacy, and the internal soul-searching of a massive, diverse nation. The Akhand Bharat mural controversy underscored how interpretations of history are not just academic exercises, they are deeply political. What one side views as a celebration of a glorious unifying past like the Mauryan Empire, others can see as a threatening vision of future expansionism or cultural erasure. The Indian government's official explanation of ancient heritage clashed sharply with the Akhand Bharat interpretations offered by some of its own political figures, creating a confusing and, for neighbors, alarming mixed message. This ambiguity itself became part of the problem, fueling speculation and mistrust. The incident also served as a crucial lesson in regional sensitivities. In a neighborhood as complex and historically layered as South Asia, actions taken by a large and influential country like India are scrutinized with extraordinary intensity.
Thanks for watching my video. If you are not subscribed, you are new, please subscribe my channel. Allah Hafiz.